Welcome to the next episode of She Loves It. Oh, I had to sing it. I had to sing because today I am joined by, if you listen to this podcast, you will have heard me girl crushing hard. Insert all the splashing emojis over my guest for today. So today I'm joined by the one and only Emily Doe. Oh,
Hello,
hi,
hello,
Emily. She is the Bardalicious dandelion magic maker, the boobalicious, the bodacious dandelion bard, Emily Doe. Emily and I met in Glastonbury on the equinox this year, in this lifetime at least. I'm fairly certain
hello.
we have sung around many a fire, naked in many a temple, in many a lifetime, on many a planet before that. But Emily absolutely blew me away when I met her at an Unbound Writers get together for the equinox in March this year. And honestly, since then, being in Emily's energy and co creating with Emily and just watching her stratospheric, meteoric rise into her own magnificence has been the medicine and the tonic and the spark that I need. It's like it's given me permission to dream again, and that's something I've talked about a lot on this podcast because it's something that was missing. And honestly, being in Emily's infectious energy just has given me permission to lean into the vast bigness of my own dreams. Oh, Emily, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me on the pod again.
Oh no.
I know I came here with Natalie last time to talk about the power of us, but honestly, Rach, like, so much ditto to everything you've just said. I remember when we did first meet, and I actually remember that. Do you remember walking in to Chalicewell Gardens and you were on one side of the gardens and I was on the other side of the gardens and we were like waving to each other, but we'd never met before.
I
But we
forgot
spotted
about
each other and we were like, we knew we were both going to the same place, even though we didn't know. It was like that recognition, that remembrance of like, oh, that person's with me.
that.
But I didn't know you were at that point with me, but you are with me. And we just had the most, this word has come up already today, climactic
Oh.
exchange of energy on the day. And I remember being so like, just like everything was just tingling and fizzing inside of my body. Like just spending time with you. We were just kind of just like, yeah, just like banters, like constant. We sat next to each other at lunch, and we almost ignored everybody else at the table. And then we were like, right, we better just talk to some other people whilst we're here. And it was just, yeah, it was super lovely. And then we kind of connected on WhatsApp afterwards, and we just shared some experiences that we'd had that were, yeah, like resonant with each other's experiences, whether they were, people that we'd met or whatever. And I just remember feeling really like excited, like, oh, I've got a new friend. But actually, where you said I've helped to ignite something in you around dreaming again and your own like awesome, magnificent creativity. I feel like your support through the crazy journey that I have actually been on over the last 6, 7 months has been like this kind of real earthy kind of part of what I've been doing actually is like grounding into earth really, really more so, and like bringing myself into like the real world. And that involves like relationship, right, with other people, really, really truthfully, because so much of what goes on in your own kind of spiritual journey or creative endeavors can sort of live in your body or live in your head, or and it doesn't make its way out into the world. And so like sharing things with you and having you to like there to reflect back to me and say like, oh my goodness, like you activated something in me there, and like that's given me the trust part of like trusting my own magic and trusting that there is something infectious about my energy.
Yeah.
And that is not just happening between me and you. That happens with lots, and I'm noticing it more now because I think you reflect it back to me so generously. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And it's funny that like you're talking about kind of rooting down and grounding because um obviously you're the dandelion queen, you know. And I was reading something recently about, it might even have been you that told me, I can't remember, but about how dandelions love, like, if people are always trying to get rid of dandelions in their garden, not us, we love them and we make dandelion tincture every single year and it's incredible. They're so incredible. But like I was reading that dandelions, they they're this incredible pioneer plant that have these deep tap roots, but they don't only earth themselves really deeply with their taproot, they literally like feed all of the soil. So if there's a shit piece of soil, the dandelion like comes in, digs down deep and replenishes all of that soil. So it just, I don't know, it feels like another extension of that wonderful lived metaphor that you are as the dandelion bard, of like coming in.
Yeah, and when I started this whole journey, the one of the first things I did after the dandelions communicated with me,
You tell
it
us
was
about that
during
because I don't know if you said that in the last episode.
yeah, so during a period of time where I was kind of resting up because I suppose you'd call it burnout. I'd probably burnt myself out, and I'd recognized that I just needed to stop doing a lot of the things that I was doing and get quiet, and I hadn't stopped everything. I was still out there kind of investigating in my own way because I'm always doing something. But I had stopped contracting for two or three of the places that I was working for. So I was going into a place of deep trust of like I can let go of these jobs. Like I something else is going to come in that's much more aligned for me. And so I was in this place of deep trust. And I remember waking up one morning around 4 or 4:30 in the morning, and and I can't remember what I was dreaming about, but I usually do dream, and they're usually very vivid, my dreams. Can't always kind of depict or explain what they're about. So I'd woken up and I was in this kind of very liminal space of like sleep and awake, and I just had this. It wasn't so much a voice as a sensation in my body that told me that the dandelions had something that they needed me to know. It's really difficult sometimes, isn't it, to explain that kind of inner voice and what
Yeah.
that feels like or what that actually is and how it comes to you. But it was very clearly language around the dandelions have something that they need you to know. And I was like, I bolted up in bed and I just was like, okay, what do they need me to know? So I got my journal out, put my light on. It was still dark outside. I put my light on and I started writing in my journal, like there's something to do with dandelions. What do the dandelions need me to know? And so, we all have one of these smartphones
Holding up the
next to
phone if
us.
you're
So I
listening.
picked up my phone, turned it off of airplane mode because I always pop it onto airplane mode when I'm sleeping, and I just tapped it in, like the dandelions message. And obviously, the way AI is now, that was like the first thing that came up in the listing, and it was like the spiritual message from the dandelion. I was reading through going, wow, like this is I can see myself in all of this. This is really, really resonant to where I am in my life right now. Um, and there was stuff around, them being resilient because they have these really deep tap roots, and about them kind of feeding the not only the pollinators, the first pollinators in spring, but also the soil around them, and they're really, really generous in that way, and they've got such an abundant quality to them. They're literally found in every country, as far as I know, around the world.
Oh my God.
Um, they're called weeds, but actually they are like beautiful, beautiful wildflowers, and they're one of the most successful species of plant on the planet. And they do not ask for permission to come in and shine their light. They literally go wherever the wind takes them. They plant themselves in, they root themselves down, and then they grow. And they even grow through the cracks in the pavement. And they're like, you can't hold me back, even though it's hard. Yeah, even though life is pretty hard here, I'm going to do this anyway. And so that was like, okay, this is really great. So I'm just journaling at this point. I'm just writing all of this down, and I'm just going, oh, that relates to me in my life, and that relates to this. And then another inner voice said, you need to write a book
Mm.
and you need to start a podcast. And I was like, okay. And I just did. I just did it. Yeah, I just had full faith that that was what I had to do. And I didn't really fully understand where that was going to take me, but it's taken me on such a magical adventure ever since. Yeah.
I literally just love that story. I love that story so much. I love that story so much. And you already had a massive dandelion tattoo, didn't you?
Yeah, it's quite a large dandelion tattoo on my belly. So the
Like,
dandelions actually showed up in my garden as I was going through the separation from my ex-husband. So over 5 years ago now, we didn't ha really have dandelions on the lawn, and when he left, he took the lawnmower along with many other things, and I never replaced it. And I just thought, I'm just going to let the garden do what it needs to do. I'm going to let it be wild. And the dandelions came in, and whoa, did they come in? Like they were literally everywhere. And I started to kind of get interested about, what they were doing for my garden. Um, the fact that they were so great for the bees and the butterflies, and I really, really appreciated them and respected them so much for that. I also have colitis. I have had colitis, or been aware of me having colitis, since I was in my late 20s. And so I started to look into kind of how they could support my health. So I've been drinking dandelion tea every single day for a long time now. So I had this relationship with dandelions, but it wasn't in any way kind of a conscious communication or a spiritual communication as such. Um, and for me, the reason why I had that tattoo was because it was about a month after my ex-husband left, because he stayed in the house for a few months because of lockdown.
oh God.
Um,
Oh.
and then when he did finally leave, I was like, I can breathe, like I
Mm.
can breathe again. And so I was reading a book called Peace in Every Step by Thich Nhat Hanh. And the first page that I opened up of this book had a dandelion picture on there, and it said about
Oh.
blowing out, like letting go, exhaling, and just really kind of being mindful around your breath and how you can walk peacefully into every situation. And that was like, again, that was really important for me in that moment. And it remains important for me every single day of my life.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so really caring for my own energy in that way, I suppose. And so I decided I was going to get a tattoo. And yeah, so the tattoo was there, but like I say, I wasn't really thinking about dandelions that much. Wasn't thinking about them at all, but the relationship with them had already begun a few years before I had this moment, this epiphany moment last year. And yeah, I've written the book. The book is today is the day that the book is going to go off to the editor for the final time. I've made my final edits. and it's going off to the designer, and I'm hoping that it will be out, yeah, this year at least, but by Christmas at least.
Oh my God. What an
And
auspicious day for us to be meeting, the day that your book actually, because if you hadn't said yes to that book, we might not have met.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, like I've met so many amazing people through the writing of the book, you know, and like I asked for it. I asked for my soul tribe. You know, before I started writing the book, I was asking for all of this to come into my life. And I'm quite impatient sometimes. And I remember feeling like when it like nothing's happening and I'm all on my own. I didn't really feel that I could, yeah, I just felt quite alone for a long time ahead of writing the book. And so finding the Unbound Press and going into that community, I just started to really, really believe not only in myself, but to believe in my magic and to
Mm.
believe that I could do whatever I intended to do. And the book was a spell. I said that from the beginning. The book is a
Oh,
spell, and I'm
love that.
rewriting my life, and giving myself permission to express myself fully.
Oh, I love that. That sparked so many questions in me. The first one I'm going to ask you for anybody listening who, because I know past Rachel would have listened to what you just said, and the question I'd have been thinking was, how did you actually go about asking for your soul tribe? And what other kind of shit are you asking for? Like, how does one who doesn't know how to ask do that?
It started with journaling. It
Mm.
very much started with journaling, and I was obviously experiencing some magic around that. One of the first things I ever journaled when I first started journaling, and it wasn't that long ago. I think it was like 2020, I want to say 2022, maybe I started journaling.
You didn't
And
journal when you were 22?
no, I'd never journaled until 2022.
Oh,
Yeah, and I started journaling, and one of the first things that I wrote down when I was just kind of like free writing, and it was like scribbles all over the page. It was like very much a burst of like, yeah, doodles and scribbles and all sorts of things coming out at that point. Um and I just wrote, and I remember on the page, I can even see it now. I don't know where that book is, but I can see it on the page. It said, um you're going to write a book. And I was like, I remember thinking, what? Like, I don't really feel like I've got anything to write a book about. Like, that's weird. Um, and it was going to be, and it was, you're going to write a book, and it was going to be with contributions from other people. That was what came out on the page. And then I wrote, you need to ask for help. And
Mm,
that was really the beginning of me recognizing that I'd been going through life without really asking anybody for help from since I was a child, really.
mm,
Thinking I could do it all on my own. I think is a very, very common story for a lot of us,
definitely.
especially, us that are called to our magic and
Mm,
very much kind of, yeah, wanting to kind of really work with our own light and to be the kind of leaders in that, I suppose.
mm.
Um, and so, yeah, I'd felt lost, really, really lost for a long time, but I hadn't been telling anybody about it. I was just keeping it all inside, thinking I could deal with it all on my own. Yeah, so that at first it was journaling, and then through this last few months, I suppose, really more so, just really realizing the power of speaking out or
Mm,
singing out what it is that you're manifesting, what it is that you want to happen. And then, yeah, that for me feels really potent,
mm.
really, really potent. And also just like letting go because
Like the
often things show up.
dandelion.
Yeah, that is it. There's so
Seeds
much
float.
around what the dandelion can teach me, not only me. And that was one of the messages that came through that morning. It was like, we've got so much wisdom that, we've got this for you, but we really feel that you can be a conduit to take this wisdom out into the world and share it with other people. That
Do you
was a
feel
really
like
clear.
do you feel like the spirit of the dandelion is using you as a channel for its wisdom?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's always
Yeah,
the sense I get
absolutely.
that the spirit of the
Yeah.
dandelion
However,
is.
like now that I've been on this journey for a while, I realized that. it's not necessarily just dandelion
Mm.
that wants to come through. There's other spirits from um like the more I learn about it now, it's like I'm learning about trees, and I'm learning about other plant species, but then I'm learning about like myths from gods and goddesses, which are also kind of related to the dandelion and the astrology of each of the plants. And that I find that all incredibly supportive, incredibly supportive. But there's a part of me now which is like very much in my kind of hierophant, I suppose, because I do love to go out there and just like absorb as much information from lots of different sources, and then like put it all together and go, look at how interconnected all of this is. It's amazing. But there's also a part of me that's just like being called to just do the do now, and be rather than trying to intellectualize, just allow it to flow through in whatever expression it wants to come through. And at the moment, it's coming through in story and song. Um,
Hashtag Bard life.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Like I'm already writing another story, but this time it's a fictional story.
Amazing.
It's interesting because when I first started writing my dandelion story, which is really, I suppose it could be put into the category of like self-help or personal development or whatever, because I'm sharing the things that have really helped me throughout this process. Um, I meditated uh with the spirit of the book. It's something that Nicola Humber at the Unbound Press encourages us to do whenever we have like a bit of a blockage, or we're not really too sure of where we're going next with the book. Just ask the book for guidance. And I did that. And I was in my garden at the time, so I was surrounded by dandelions. And the book and the dandelions, they're one and the same. It is that source intelligence that's coming through me. And it was very, very clear this book is not about anybody else. So that whole idea of like bringing other people in to contribute, it was like,
Not this
no,
book. Not
not
this one.
necessary. This
Yeah.
is about you. You've got this. And so that was clear. And now this next book, like the way that the ideas come through for me, um it's never like a big download and then suddenly I've got this fully formed. Like whoever gets their creativity to work like that can happen, I suppose, for some people, like a very clear vision. But I get like little whispers of things, and then I know once I've got this vision that I've got to let go of what like how fully formed that is, because I've I'm going to live something in a minute which is going to inform it and shape it in a different way, and it's just going to keep evolving, and there's no end. And that's what I think is really important about my book. It's like there is no end. Everything's a cycle. There's no end point. We're on a journey, a constant evolving journey, like even when we die, our soul then reincarnates, and it's like we're just eternal, right? And
Everything is the infinite present moment. Like literally, the version of
yeah,
you that is trying to get out that relationship still exists at this exact same moment and can tap into the version of you that is a fully formed bard on the other side, like spreading her magic. Like it's all, it blows your mind to think about that, but it's also, I just think it can be so like incredibly powerful to know that all the versions of you are existing at once. And it's
mm,
almost like you can, it's like a version of you can be speaking to you right now, like whispering.
yeah. And I think that's coming back to your original question of like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you
How
like
do you
I
ask for
speak
what
it
you want?
out,
Yeah.
and I just say like, this is how it's that reality is already here within me right now,
Yeah.
and this is how it's in me right now.
I
And
just
like,
want to stop for 1 second to just let people just really receive that, because that's so perfect. Like this reality is in me. It exists right now. And what was the next bit you said?
how can I pull that reality into my physical right now. Like yesterday was a really symbolic moment for me, actually, where what I went and I created
I saw that. So,
my
Emily, for those of you who are just listening, Emily is holding up this beautiful stick that has been adorned with thread and a plait made of fabric, and I'd say it was just over a foot long.
Mhm.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so this stick I found a couple of days ago out walking. I found it underneath my favorite tree. So the tree that I connect with the most in my local area. Been feeling the pull to this particular tree for a while now, and I just go and it just really supports me in so many ways being with that tree. And I'd gone out on a walk. I thought I'm going to take my time, I'm going to meander a little bit before I make my way to the tree, and I'm looking for a stick because I know I want to create my own bardic sharing circle talking stick.
Oh, yes.
So I don't want to just be the bard that goes around telling, telling stories and singing songs at people. I want to invite other people into the magic of expressing, expressing themselves with me because I want to be equally as entertained by you as you are by me.
You're so good
And
at that as well. You are so good at that.
yeah, so I've decided to start a bardic sharing circle. The first one's happening this month at the Bristol Goddess Temple, which is very close to where I live, and it has been wonderful connecting in with the people there. It's provided me the community in my local area that I've so desperately craved for such a long time. Um, and and so I thought I just woke up in the morning and I was like, oh, I need a talking stick for sure. This is my way of bringing it into my physical, like it's
Mm,
already done. Like
it's already done.
there's a stick for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's ritualistic, right? It's very
Yeah, it's
ritualistic.
ritualistic.
It was just one of the most gorgeous ways to spend an hour. Just an hour and a half, just thinking like it's very simple, like I've just used bits of
Beautiful.
old rag,
It's
um,
beautiful.
but like lovingly creating this stick
Yeah.
and what it represents. It's
Bring
it's
energy into it.
it's brought it into the physical for me,
Yeah.
and it's done. Yeah, it's done.
Love that.
And something equally magical happened the day that I first sang at Stanton Drew, which is the sacred stone circles nearest to where I live. I was invited there by a couple of new friends that I'd met at the temple, and we went there for the Lunasa ceremony, and I was singing by the Stones because I really wanted to do that. I'd wanted to go there and sing for a while. So the ceremony had ended. I was singing by the Stones, and and some of the druids that were facilitating that circle that morning, that ceremony, were kind of clearing away the altar, and they came over to me, and we're just like, you're like the Pied Piper. Oh, sing it again, sing it again. And so I was singing some of my songs, and they were just, really thankful. I had a blessing from one of the elders
Mm.
and was invited back to sing again at Equinox, which I did. And that later that day, I was on a real high. And I went to see my mum who had broken her foot. So I went over for a cup of tea, and I'm just walking across the council estate, which is in between the two of our houses, and there was a staff on the path, and I was just like, this is clearly my staff.
Oh my
I'm taking that
God.
home. And so that's going to become a beautiful staff, my bardic staff, which is going to go everywhere with me. And yeah, just like I just I could just feel the magic in the trees and the sticks and the plants, and that they do talk to me as I'm walking along and grab my attention and all of that stuff. And I know that you resonate with that because I listen to your podcast and you're always out foraging and whatnot.
Always out rootling around, chatting to trees. My favorite thing, well, maybe it's not my favorite, but one thing I always find myself doing that I really enjoy is spotting the anuses on trees. Like, if you ever look, you can always spot a little, like, whoop, bum hole
Yeah,
in the tree.
yeah,
It's so much fun doing that and sharing it on social media. Oh,
yeah.
I
That and yeah,
love it.
you know, the phalluses that are everywhere.
Oh, and the vulvas. Love it. One of the things that I've kind of heard you allude to and say specifically whilst you've been talking that I think perhaps isn't necessarily something we talk about when we're talking about creativity, but something you keep saying that comes up again and again is the power of letting go of things, which strikes me as a very dandelion thing to do. Like she's like, and her seeds just go. Like you've talked quite a lot about the power of letting go of things. Can you tell me
Yeah.
a bit more about what that means to you?
Yes, I can. It it feels like in a world where we are we're brought up to believe and we are conditioned to potentially overanalyze, overcritique. Um, Perfectionism can really kind of hold us back from releasing our creations into the world and sharing what we've got to share for fear of it not quite coming out right, or maybe we might upset somebody, or maybe we might shine too bright and be rejected, or any of those things. I just love how brazen and audacious and brave the dandelion is for the way that it shows up in our existence. And like everything that shows up in our world is a reflection, right? And that if when we are able to look at the dandelion and see ourselves and the attributes that they live inside each of us, like being able to let go of something, to let go of an expectation, to let go of a fear of failure, to let go of how it's going to be received by somebody else, to let go of the need for it to be a certain way, allows the magic to swoop in and for there to be these like amazing twists and turns, which for me, I'm here for that kind of level of adventure, that richness to my experience of life, like I want to be continuously surprised. I
Ah.
don't want things to turn out the way I necessarily know that they're going to turn out, because like that's boring, quite frankly. Like having something surprise me, and you only get to be surprised when you let go
Ah,
of the expectation of what it's going to be. You
so
only get
good.
surprised in those instances. So that's really where it all started for me, I suppose, realizing that I was here for a free-spirited adventure. And wow, the dandelion really is free-spirited. Yeah, like they can fly for something like over 2 miles at a time. And also they've been known, the seeds have been known, I think, to like cross the channel. Like
Oh,
they go for miles. They're like, well, I'm off.
and
I'm
that is
off.
so
I'm on a new adventure
you.
now.
Like with Pluto. Tell us about Pluto.
Ah, Pluto. Well,
Yeah, like letting go,
again,
Pluto is like your beautiful, yeah.
yeah, I have a retro folding caravan, which is named she's named Pluto, and I didn't even name her. This is all part of like how magical this is. I didn't even name her Pluto. Her previous owners named her that.
Oh.
And when I went to pick her up last year, um, as I was leaving, they said, "Oh, we meant to tell you we named her, and we're wondering whether you fancy keeping the name." And when they said Pluto, I was like, okay, yes.
Yeah.
You don't understand how absolutely perfect that actually is. And, I've had an obsession with the transit of Pluto moving into Aquarius for since 2020, since lockdown, when I started to revitalize my love of astrology, and kind of just like that's how I got through, really. That's how I got through that period, was just like listening to astrology podcasts. And yeah, starting to really think about my consciousness from that level, from that kind of like way out there, the energies and everything. And yeah, and I'm really, really keen to express the astrology of the dandelion as well. So
You
the
mentioned that
dandelion,
earlier.
yeah, so the dandelion is ruled by the energies of Jupiter and Chiron. And
Oh,
Jupiter is the great expander. Um, he's a very kind of beneficial kind of energy which expands and brings good fortune into your life. And obviously Chiron is known as the wounded healer. And so there's been this simultaneous expansion of my world, my creativity, the people that surround me, the way I feel looked after, the way I am held and supported in my being, as my true self, and just like, yeah, expressing in all the ways. But also at the same time, it's been a massive healing journey for me. Yeah. So I can really, I mean, it just makes so much sense to me. It's like, yeah, that's just exactly what's happened. The dandelions have come in to do all of these things for me, all in one go, and hopefully allow me to help others on their own path of self-discovery and healing and yeah, creativity.
magic of creativity. Like you just ooze the magic of creativity. And thank you for expanding on that because I loved what you said about the relationship between letting go and the creative experience and like the space and the magic that is allowed to come in when you do let go of things. I just thought, oh, that's so illuminating and so beautiful to think about it in that way. So yeah, thank you.
Sometimes, you have to have a little bit of if you want your life to change,
Mm.
you want to experience something different, it's all very well dreaming it up and writing it into your journal and speaking it out loud, but you have to have the courage to actually take the action that's going to get you there. And I think that's the missing piece for a lot of people. It can be the bit that they stumble over and then they end up, yeah, holding back for some reason. And I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong in that. I'm not suggesting there's right or wrong around any of this stuff. Um, there's just a time when it's gonna like the seed, like there's a time when there's just enough pressure from all angles that it just can't hold back any longer, and it has to break through into the light and do its thing. And whether that's a tiny step or it's a giant leap, it really doesn't matter. It's how when you change, everything changes around you. And yeah, I've done a lot of work around that as well. I became a multiple brains integrations techniques coach at the end of last year because I recognized that I'd already been intuitively working with the intelligence of my heart.
Mhm.
Um, but there was a disconnect or a misalignment between what my gut was allowing me to do and what my heart wanted me to do.
Mm. How
So,
did you know that there was that misalignment?
because I was often too scared. I
Mm.
mean, we had a conversation before we came on to before we press record on this podcast, right? Where I've just done something in my personal life which I've been too scared to do for over 5 years, and it's like I've known about it. I've known about it, and I know that I'm safe to do it now. Like I've had to
Mhm.
go through many kind of conversations, not only with myself, but people in my life in order to get to this point where it's like, no, now's the time. Now's
Mm.
the time. And so, yeah, it's like be appreciating and thanking um, yourself, your inner wisdom for the times when it has held you back as much as the times when it's kind of allowed you to take that step forwards, because it's all divinely right in its own timing.
So
Yeah, like there's that there's that saying, isn't there, around like growth in general, like nobody tells the plants when to grow, they just grow when it's the right time. And that's very much true. And that's one of the reasons why I love some of the things that you share on your social media or in your poetry or on your podcast around, like the school system and how it can really hold us back from being in our authenticity, and just kind of like it can quash all of that magic from our being, because we're told to like fit a mold and be like everybody else, or like express in this way because this is the way the scholars have always done it,
Yeah,
and
this
it's
is what
like,
is held up as the paradigm of goodness.
yeah, 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 for sure. And yeah, so it's just been such a free experience. And when I first got the message, or the download, or the knock on the shoulder, the tap on the shoulder to write another book, like I hadn't even finished writing the first book, and it was like, there's another book here.
Knock, knock,
And
knock.
I was just like,
Hello.
yeah, but
Are
it's
you
like yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, just give me a minute, just give me a
ready?
minute to finish this book, and then I'll crack on. And I knew that it was going to be a fantasy fiction. Um, and it was like I kind of got a bit of a grasp about what that's going to be or how it's going to feel. And like as time goes on, I'm getting more and more and more of a sense of it. And now, obviously, I've lived through this experience of like being initiated at the Stones, and becoming a bard, finding my stuff, and it's like, okay, that's who I am now. Um, and then I can bring that into the magic of the book, like
Oh,
it's really, yeah, it's really interesting, and it's exciting, and it's like it's all going to happen in the right time. And that's actually one of the things that's been coming through this week during this full moon for me, is like I just want to slow everything down as much as I
mm,
possibly can, because I've spent my whole life rushing to the
mm.
next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, and actually slowing down and just enjoying the experience of every single moment is like, that's where the juicy goodness is, because
Oh,
it's already happened. I can say it again. Everything has already happened, and I don't need to worry about what's coming. I can
I
just
just love
enjoy
that.
enjoy the fact that I'm on my path.
Love that. There was a like for years, because I'm a really slow mover. I'm like a glacier. I go at a really slow pace. And at the same time, I'm also really fast. But my purpose, because me and Emily both, the other thing we bonded over was a shared love of the gene keys. And my purpose is number 5, patience. And I'm a wildly impatient person, which is the shadow. But I also I like move really slowly with things. And, because for years, for me, I like, this is going to turn into a long story. I can feel it happening inside my
Go
body.
for it.
So
Yeah.
basically, like coming back to my dreams and challenging me when you were at my house recently, and so I had Emily on the sofa. We'd had the most amazing night. Our friend Nat had just launched her album. She's coming on the podcast soon as well. So we listened to Nat's album together, celebrating her. Emily is also in the process, this wildly generative, generous, creative being is in the process of wrapping up her first album. And honestly, guys, me and my husband Mark were listening to it with her in our garden, and we were just blown away. And every time she sends me a song, I'm just, oh, it's incredible. It's so good. I can't wait. Can't wait for that to be out in the world. But we were sat and I was like, Emily, can I read you some of my poems? Can I please read you my poems? And I was reading her some of my poems, and it just felt incredible. I felt so alive. Makes me so happy to share them with people. And she's so
Um,
gracious and so encouraging, and she loved them. I'm going to choose to believe that you genuinely loved them.
Oh my goodness, Rach, honestly, can I just interject to say, like, I've seen so many poets popping up on my feeds and on like YouTube and stuff since we had that experience together. And yeah, they're great and everything, but my first thought is, yeah, not doing it for me like Rachel does it for me. Like honestly, like on it, that is the truth. It's like I just so want for everyone to hear you reading your words the way that you read them, because like it's so moving. And that's what I've realized I've come for. I've come, like I was a movement therapist for many, many years before I came to this work and to this, it's not even work, it's just me having a laugh, right? Um, having all the feels.
Life
And
is art, babe. Life is art.
yeah.
That's what our lives are. We are like leading the spearhead of literally
Mm.
living our lives on the cutting edge of consciousness, one synchronicity at a time, expanding into our this one and only work of art that is our lives.
Absolutely. And I realized that, that whole 15 years as a movement therapist, it was about being moved and helping people move and the feeling and the sensations, and like that hasn't changed. That theme is still here in my life today. It's just showing up in a different manifestation. It's like I still really want to be moved and move with other people, but it's like that,
Totally feel that.
yeah, that
Totally.
feeling that you get,
Yeah.
when you can just like, oh, just envelope yourself in sensation around somebody else's expression. I just love that. And actually, my purpose gene key is gene key 32, which is all about veneration. And I have so much respect for that. And in the
Oh,
shadow, it's failure. And I think the fear of failure is really what can hold us back. But it's knowing that every single thing we do in our lives is we have to trust it. We have to trust that that's exactly the experience that is meant for us in that moment in order for us to take the next step on our journey. And that is what my purpose is here in terms of the gene keys. So yeah, it just makes so much sense. And my life's work gene key is gene key 53, which is all about new beginnings,
oh,
having the energy to start something new, knowing what to see through and all of that kind of stuff. And that's been a constant work for me because I know how to start new things, like I've
yeah.
created a whole album in less than 6 months. To
Amazing.
the point where I've written the songs, got people together to help me write the music, because I don't compose like actual music. I just write lyrics and write songs, and then bringing it all together, taking it to the recording studio and kind of getting it out in the world. It's like, yeah, that's happened in 6 months. The book took 14 months. I'm like, now there's the next book, and it's like I'm starting a bardic sharing circle. I'm doing a one-woman show. Like, come on. And I'm constantly just like starting. But I feel like what my energy is really good at activating is that burst of energy, that start. It's like I'm really good at coming in at the start and being like, hey, yeah, you really need to do this. But knowing that, failure is okay. It's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. It's actually a really great thing.
Yeah.
We're learning everything. We're learning from
Fertile ground
everything.
for growth, isn't it? Failure. Like if you're afraid of failure, you will never create what you're here to create on this planet, in this life.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, I'm my energy can be quite scattered, but then again, the dandelion seeds are scattered. So it's like, that's fine. That's the way it's meant to be. I'm taking that. I'm claiming that energy of scattered for my own.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Oh my God. It has been the most incredible conversation. I've loved having you on here again. And just a reminder to everybody, go check out Emily's book will be coming out soon. Her album will be coming out soon. If you are in the Southwest or the Bristol area, Emily is one of the founders of the Power of Us movement, and I will be one of the speakers at their event in Bristol. In fact, I think it's been announced I am the opening speaker,
You
which I
are.
had to pitch Nat for because I'm like, I love to go first. I was just thinking, I've just written a poem to go first. So
Oh,
that's actually
we're so excited to have you, and yeah,
oh,
you opening up for us is going to be amazing for
going to
sure.
be
I
full
just can't
blown
wait.
drama, babes. I've just bought the most incredible earrings and I've got a whole outfit planned. I'm so excited. I feel so alive because of saying yes to all this stuff and being in this energy, and it's pointing me towards what's next for me, which just feels incredible.
Yeah, and let's just keep turning each other on, baby.
Yeah, exactly. That is it. That is literally it. It's the power of being in community with people that are turning you on and doing like
Yeah.
you were doing the thing. And it's just a space I want. I am gonna activate this right now. I want more and more of this in my life, this creative co-creation and magic. And people who see my genius and refuse to let me settle for anything less, and who are living in their genius and want me to hold that and amplify that. Like I am calling that in because I'm tired of doing it alone. I want that support. I want those relationships. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And we don't know how it's going to show up. We've talked about this during our conversation. Just being open to
letting go.
receiving exactly what needs to come in for you. Like it so often is not what you expect it to be. And then you're like, oh, this is so satisfying.
Do you know that's really true actually? Because I did want to do an episode on this on my podcast because I spent a long time calling in community. So I was doing the same as you. I was writing in my journal. I was speaking it out loud. I was like, I want community. I want community. And I thought it was going to be I had an idea of what I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to have to create it. I thought it was going to be around my work and spirituality. And I realized around my birthday this year, like we've been in our new house for a year. It's literally 5 minutes from our old house. It's just down the road. We have no community in our old house, despite being in the same exact hamlet. We've moved down here, and suddenly, this like the dandelions in your garden, out of nowhere, a loving community has sprung up around me, and it came in a completely unexpected way, and it is the most beautiful thing. And it's, I think, again, that's the power of letting go of expectations, because that was not what I was thinking, and it surprised me and delighted me, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. So on that note, follow Emily. That is basically what I was
Yeah, and
saying.
do please go and have a little listen to some of my music because I'm still working through the doubts around like who am I to do this, but actually I'm doing it anyway. And if there's ever anything that you've dreamed of doing, I can just honestly, hand on heart, say that it's worth pursuing it because the it's not about the outcome. It's not about what you produce. It's not about even who sees it or receives it. It's about you living that. You're here to live it. You wouldn't have gotten that idea, that inspiration, if you weren't here to live it out in some way for yourself. And it really is about, putting yourself front and center and just shining that light, baby. Grow through the cracks. Yeah.
Yeah! Woo, woo, woo! Thank you so much, Emily Doe, for existing on this planet at this time.
And
And thank,
you.
oh, you're
I'm
welcome.
giving you a hug.
Yay, I received that hug. And thank you so much for tuning into this episode of She Loves It. It's been an absolute joy to have you here. And if you loved this episode, if you have a friend who really needs to be sparked into action to follow their creative magic, share this episode with them, please, please, please. And if you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe to the podcast, and you leave me a 5-star review, because come on, guys, I definitely deserve it. And you're a good person. So thank you very much. If you haven't, come and join my email list, because I'm going to be getting creative on there and sharing some cool ass shit. So thank you so much, Emily. Thank you for listening, everyone. And we will see you next time
Thank you, my
on.
darling. Bye
Woo! See you next
bye.
time on She Loves It.